My stepmother's punishment left me in a world of silk and secrets. I had always believed myself to be meticulous, a ghost in my own home. Meticulous enough to keep the truth locked away. Meticulous enough that no one, not my coldly pristine stepmother, Eleanor, not my warm, unsuspecting girlfriend, Clara, and certainly not the lingering ghost of my late father, would ever discover the person I was when I was alone. But secrets are like water. They find the smallest cracks, especially when your life is a constant, careful walk across a floor of eggshells. My name is Leo. I'm 19. And for as long as I can remember, I've been drawn to the forbidden textures of my world. The whisper of lace, the creamy glide of lipstick, the soft drape of chiffon, the sharp, authoritative click of heels on a polished floor. I can't pinpoint the origin. Perhaps it was a fleeting glimpse of my mother's dresses in old photographs before she passed, or the day I found her forgotten silk scarf, still holding a faint trace of her perfume. Whatever the spark, I knew it was a flame I had to hide, especially from Eleanor. She swept into our lives a year before my father's death, a storm in tailored suits. With her hair pulled into a severe chignon and a gaze colder than the marble she had installed in the kitchen, she began her reign. After Dad was gone, she ruled the house like a fortress. Curfews were non-negotiable, rooms were subject to inspection, and appearances were everything. Her definition of a man was a rigid, unforgiving monolith, strong, silent, respectable. I was, in her eyes, a constant, glaring failure. My sanctuary was a loose floorboard beneath my bed. It held my collection, a simple A-line skirt, a bra I'd nervously bought online, a pair of soft, worn ballet flats, and my most cherished treasure, a delicate ivory blouse with pearl buttons, unearthed in a thrift shop 2 towns away. On the rare afternoons when the house fell silent, when I was certain Eleanor was at her tennis lesson or a charity luncheon, I would perform my ritual. The curtains drawn, the door locked, I would transform. I became someone else. Someone soft. Someone beautiful. Someone free. Clara was the only sunlight that pierced the gloom. My girlfriend since junior year, she had a laugh that could dispel shadows and a gentle touch that soothed the constant knot in my stomach. I loved her with a desperate, aching truth, but I couldn't give her all of me. I couldn't give her this part. What would she think if she saw me in that ivory blouse, my hand steady as I brushed mascara onto my lashes? Would her kindness curdle into disgust? Would she laugh? The thought was a physical pain. So I split myself in two, Leo, the devoted boyfriend, and Leo, the keeper of the secret. That morning began under Eleanor's watchful eye. She was at the kitchen island, a black coffee in one hand, her tablet in the other. Her blazer was sharp enough to cut glass. She didn't look up as I entered. "You folded the guest towels with the seam facing out yesterday," she stated, her voice flat. "I'll redo them," I murmured, my shoulders instinctively hunching. "You'll do them properly," she corrected. "There is a difference." The familiar feeling of shrinking, of being reduced to a clumsy child, settled over me. She finally lifted her gaze, her eyes pinning me to the floor. "You've been distracted lately, Leo." Jumpy. "You aren't hiding anything, are you?" My heart seized for a split second, a tiny betrayal my body made without my permission. She saw it. "Of course not," I said, forcing a casual tone. "Just thinking about midterms." She held my gaze for a long, dissecting moment before returning to her tablet. After she left, I checked the small calendar on the fridge. Tennis. That meant I had a guaranteed 90 minutes. I felt a surge of adrenaline as I raced to my room. The ritual was a bomb. My fingers, trembling slightly, pried open the floorboard. I laid the items on my bed like sacred relics, the skirt, the blouse, the flats. I shed my hoodie and jeans, my skin tingling with a potent mix of thrill and terror. The skirt settled perfectly on my hips, its hem brushing just above my knees. I buttoned the blouse, my fingers moving with a practiced delicacy. Turning to the mirror, I saw her emerge, the version of me I only ever met in these stolen moments. A person with softer eyes, a more graceful line to their collarbones, a quiet confidence I could only imagine into existence. I reached for the lipstick, a gentle coral. As I twisted the tube, My pulse thrummed in my ears. I felt beautiful. I felt whole. But just as my hand reached for the wig I kept hidden in the back of my closet, I heard it. The unmistakable sound of the front door opening. Eleanor's voice, sharp and clear, rang out. "Leo?" I forgot my wallet. A wave of ice water washed over me. My feet were rooted to the floor. She was already on the stairs. My mind screamed, my body frozen. It was too late to hide, too late to run. The bedroom door creaked open. I turned, slow, agonizing. My heart was a stone in my throat. I stood there, trembling, in my ivory blouse and skirt. Eleanor stood in the doorway, purse in hand. Her eyes, wide with shock for a bare second, quickly narrowed. A heavy, suffocating silence filled the room. Her gaze was a physical touch, sweeping over my bare legs, my lipsticked mouth, my hands that were trying, uselessly, to shield the skirt from view. Her lips pressed into a razor-thin line. "Well," she said, her voice like steel. "This certainly explains a lot." Eleanor didn't scream. She didn't gasp or demand an explanation in a fit of rage. That would have been a mercy. Instead, she closed the door behind her with a soft, deliberate click that echoed like a vault sealing me in. Her heels made sharp, precise taps on the hardwood as she advanced into the room. I stumbled back, my legs shaking, my hands still clutching the hem of my skirt as if the fabric itself were the source of my shame. My mind was a white noise of panic. Say something. Explain. Lie. But my throat was tight, my mouth impossibly dry. She stopped directly in front of me. Her eyes, cold and analytical, scanned me from head to toe. "So," she said, her head tilting slightly. "This is the secret." I can explain," I stammered, the words catching in my throat. "It's not what you think." She held up a single, perfectly manicured finger. "Stop. Do not insult my intelligence, Leo." I swallowed, the sound loud in the silent room. She walked over to my bed, where my hidden life was laid bare. She picked up the wig, holding it between her thumb and forefinger as if it were contaminated. "I knew something was wrong," she said, turning back to me. "You've been so withdrawn, so anxious. I suspected drugs, perhaps a girl you were ashamed of. Even depression. But this," her lip curled in a faint, dismissive sneer. "This is unexpected." I stood there, a statue of humiliation, every inch of my skin burning. "Does Clara know?" she asked, her voice dangerously quiet. I shook my head, a violent, desperate motion. "No. Please don't tell her." Eleanor's eyes narrowed, a flicker of calculation within them. She wouldn't handle it well, would she? Such a sweet, conventional girl. So traditional. I wonder what she would say if she saw her boyfriend like this. "Please," I begged, my voice cracking. "I'll do anything. Just don't tell her." A slow, chilling smile spread across her face. "Anything?" I hesitated, and in that moment, she knew she had won. She stepped closer, her expensive perfume, sharp florals and cold musk, enveloping me like a trap. "You enjoy these clothes, Leo?" "These skirts," she murmured. "Fine. Then you will wear them. All the time. Not hiding in your room like a frightened child, but openly. Under my direct supervision. Since you want to play dress-up so badly, we're going to ensure you do it properly." I stared at her, uncomprehending. "What?" She folded her arms. "For 1 week, you are mine. You will wear what I select for you. You will act as I instruct you. You will follow my rules without question. And if you refuse," she tapped the screen of her phone, "Clara gets a very interesting photo. And perhaps a detailed explanation of why her boyfriend keeps a padded bra hidden under his floorboards." Tears of helpless fury stung my eyes. She had stripped me bare, not just of my clothes, but of my will. "So," she said, her voice all business now. "What will it be?" My nod was barely a movement, a surrender. "Okay, I'll do it." "Good," she said crisply. "Then go shower. Shave. Everything. I will have your first outfit ready when you return." Her voice dropped. "Now, Leo." I stumbled into the bathroom. When I returned, wrapped in a towel, my body damp and my heart pounding, Eleanor was seated on my bed. Laid out beside her was a powder blue sundress with puff sleeves, a matching lace bra and panties, a pair of low white kitten heels, and a full cosmetic bag. It was a twisted tableau. She patted the vanity chair. "Sit. We need to make you presentable." Her hands were efficient, impersonal, and swift. She applied foundation, muttering about my uneven skin tone. She swept blush across my cheeks, curled my lashes, and defined my brows. Finally, she applied a light pink gloss to my trembling lips. "There," she said, tilting my chin to inspect her work. "An improvement." She handed me the dress. "Put it on." My heart hammered as the soft cotton slipped over my skin. She zipped the back without a word. Then came the heels, forcing my posture to change instantly. She turned me to face the mirror. I gasped. The person staring back wasn't Leo. It was a girl, an awkward, terrified, pretty girl. Eleanor circled me, a sculptor examining her clay. "You'll need to learn to walk with grace. No slouching. Chin up." I obeyed numbly. "You will wear this for the rest of the day. No exceptions. And tomorrow, we move on to something more challenging." I opened my mouth to protest, but she waved a dismissive hand. "Don't speak. Practice your walk." She gestured to the hallway. My ankles were unsteady, my knees weak as I tottered out of the room. "Slower," she commanded from behind me. "Softer steps. Imagine you possess an ounce of elegance." My face was fire, but as I did as she said, a strange, terrifying feeling bloomed deep beneath the shame. A flicker of relief. Of freedom. Even if it was a cage, even if Eleanor was the warden, for the first time, I was out of the closet. That fragile acceptance shattered when my phone buzzed. Before I could move, Eleanor plucked it from my dresser. Her eyes lit up. "Clara." "No," I said, stepping toward her. She held up a warning hand and answered, putting it on speaker. "Hello, Clara, dear." "Hi, Eleanor. Is Leo there?" "He's not answering my texts." "Oh, he's just busy helping me around the house," Eleanor said smoothly, her eyes locked on mine. "He's been going through some changes recently. Growing pains, you could say." I stood frozen, horrified. "Oh, yes," Eleanor continued with a pointed look. "You should stop by soon. I think you'd be very surprised by the new him." She ended the call with a triumphant smirk. "Why would you do that?" I choked out. "Motivation," she said simply. "Now, go fetch your purse. We're going for a walk." "A walk? Like this?" Did I stutter? She handed me a small white clutch and steered me to the front door. The sunlight was blinding. A breeze lifted the hem of my dress, and my bare legs trembled as I stepped outside, Eleanor's hand a firm, inescapable pressure on my back. The night was a fever dream of rustling fabric and the phantom sensation of heels on my feet. I woke to the satin nightgown Eleanor had chosen for me twisted around my legs. My phone was on the nightstand, a silent accusation. A new text from Clara glowed on the screen. "Seriously, what is going on? I'm worried. I'm coming over after my classes today." My blood turned to ice. Today. She was coming today. I stumbled into the hallway to find Eleanor waiting, a picture of serene authority in a cream-colored sheath dress. She gestured toward the guest room. "Your clothes for the day are laid out. Breakfast in 15 minutes. Don't be late." The guest room was no longer a guest room, it was a staging area. On the bed lay today's costume, a short, flared navy skirt with a bow at the waist, a crisp white off-the-shoulder blouse, sheer nude stockings, and a long, brunette wig styled in soft curls. The heels beside them were at least 4 inches high. Each layer I put on felt like another piece of Leo being chiseled away. When I finally emerged, teetering in the heels, Eleanor gave me a critical look. "Better. Now, for your lesson." The doorbell rang just after lunch. I froze mid-step in the hallway, my heart leaping into my throat. Eleanor peered through the peephole. A cruel smile touched her lips. "It's her. She's early." "No," I whispered, backing away. "No, you can't. I need to change." "Nonsense," she said, her voice laced with false sweetness as she reached for the doorknob. "You agreed to my rules, Leo. Or should I say, Leah." She'd introduced the name that morning, another brand on my psyche. "This is the final test. The door swung open. Clara. What a lovely surprise. I heard Clara's cheerful voice. Hi, Eleanor. Is Leo home? I really need to talk to him. Of course, dear. He's just upstairs in his room. A little under the weather. The lie was an invitation. I was trapped. I heard Clara's light footsteps on the stairs, each one a hammer blow to my chest. A soft knock on my bedroom door. Leo? It's me. Can I come in? I couldn't answer. Eleanor's voice floated up from the base of the stairs. He's been so shy lately. Why don't you just go in, sweetheart? A pause. Then, the doorknob turned. The door creaked open. Clara stood there, her bright smile faltering as she took in the scene. Her eyes went wide, her lips parting in stunned silence. She saw it all. The wig, the makeup, the blouse clinging to my shoulders, the skirt, the heels. The complete, horrifying picture. Leo, she whispered, the name a question, an accusation. Clara, I breathed, my voice trembling. I'm so sorry. I didn't want you to find out like this. She took a step back, her hand flying to her mouth. What is this? Is this some kind of sick joke? Her eyes flicked past me, searching for an explanation, for a camera, for anything that would make it make sense. It's not a joke, I said, my voice cracking. This is me. A part of me I've hidden for years. Suddenly, Eleanor was there, appearing behind Clara like a phantom. She placed a gentle hand on Clara's shoulder. I found out a few days ago, poor thing. He was so terrified. I thought the only way to help him was to encourage him to explore it, to stop being ashamed. That's not what you did, I snapped, my gaze locking with Eleanor's. You blackmailed me. You threatened me. Clara spun back to face me, her eyes filling with tears. Is that true? I nodded, a single, miserable gesture. She said she'd send you pictures. That she'd ruin everything. So I agreed. But the terrible part is, once I started, a part of me didn't want to stop. Because for the first time, in some ways, I felt right. The confession hung in the air, heavy and raw. I don't understand, Clara stammered, shaking her head. You lied to me. For years, you lied. I didn't lie to hurt you. I pleaded, taking a step forward. I was scared. Ashamed. I have to go, she whispered, backing away toward the stairs. I can't. I need to think. And with that, she turned and fled. The sound of her running down the stairs and the slam of the front door was the sound of my world breaking. I stood frozen in the hallway, the wig itching my scalp, the scent of perfume a suffocating cloud. She'll be back, Eleanor said calmly, crossing her arms. Or she won't. Either way, this was bound to happen. You wanted this, I seethed, turning on her, the tears finally coming. You wanted her to run. Eleanor shrugged, a picture of indifference. She would have found out eventually. I merely accelerated the process. You ruined my life. No, sweetheart, she said, her voice dangerously soft. You did, the moment you decided to live a lie. I'm just forcing you to be honest. I stormed past her and slammed my bedroom door. I ripped the wig from my head, tearing at the clothes, the bra, the stockings, until they lay in a broken heap on the floor. I collapsed onto my bed, burying my face in my pillow, my sobs raw with fury and shame. Shame at Eleanor, shame at myself for letting her, and shame for the part of me that had secretly enjoyed it. Later, my phone buzzed. A message from Eleanor. Come downstairs. There's something you need to see. I ignored it. It buzzed again. Last warning. Defeated, I pulled on a robe and padded downstairs. She was in the living room, her phone in her hand. I thought you should know what really made Clara run, she said. She held up the phone. A video played. It was me as Leah, practicing walking in the hallway. Another clip showed me smiling shyly in the mirror as Eleanor applied my makeup. Another, me curtsying and whispering, "My name is Leah." My stomach plummeted. You filmed me, I whispered. Of course, she said. Insurance. The final clip showed me alone, dressed in a pretty dress from the night before, twirling in front of the full-length mirror. I looked happy. Genuinely happy. When did you show her this? I choked out. I sent it to her right after she left, Eleanor said with a shrug. I told her she deserved the full picture. To know exactly who she was dating. You're a monster. I'm a pragmatist, she corrected. She was never going to accept this part of you. But I do. I accepted it the moment I found you. You just can't see the gift I'm giving you. What gift? Eleanor leaned in, her voice a conspiratorial whisper. The chance to be who you really are, Leah. Without the lies. Without the shame. You may hate me now, but one day, you'll thank me. I ran back to my room, but this time, I didn't collapse. I stood before the full-length mirror, my reflection a wreck of smeared makeup and tangled hair. The name she had forced on me, Leah, echoed in the quiet of the room. It was meant to be a brand, a mark of her ownership. But as I stared at the girl in the mirror, I realized Eleanor had made a critical mistake. She had given my secret a name, and in doing so, had given it a life of its own. I took a deep, shuddering breath. Slowly, I walked over to the heap of discarded clothes. I picked up the wig, my fingers carefully smoothing the tangled brunette curls. I slid it back onto my head, not with the reluctant dread of before, but with a new, quiet deliberation. I cleaned the tear tracks from my face and reapplied a soft layer of lipstick. When I looked up, she was there. Not Leo in a costume, but Leah. She was tired and hurt, but she was real. A soft knock came at the door. It was Eleanor. We need to talk. I didn't answer. The door opened anyway. She stepped inside, her expression unreadable as she took in my appearance. I see you've made a decision, she said. I finally turned from the mirror to face her. This was never your decision to make. You seemed quite undecided when you were trembling in that skirt, she countered. I was scared, I said, my voice steady. I was scared because I thought if anyone saw this side of me, they would hate me. And you did exactly what I was afraid of. You took it and you twisted it into a punishment. She remained silent, her arms crossed. You think you won, I continued, taking a step toward her, the heels clicking firmly on the floor. But you didn't. You just shoved me toward a mirror I was too terrified to look into on my own. You didn't create Leah. You just introduced us. A strange light flickered in Eleanor's eyes. Then prove it. What? If this is truly who you are, then stop hiding in this room. Stop crying. Go outside. Walk down the street and own it. The thought sent a jolt of fear through me, but it wasn't paralyzing anymore. It was a challenge. I looked from her cold, calculating face to Leah's determined one in the mirror. I gave a single, firm nod. Eleanor handed me a small purse at the front door. Keys, phone, lip gloss, she said flatly. The world outside felt impossibly vast. The sun was bright, the air warm. Each click of my heels on the pavement was an announcement. A man watering his lawn looked up and nodded. Afternoon. Afternoon, Eleanor replied smoothly. I managed a tight smile. A woman jogged past, her eyes meeting mine for a brief moment. She gave a small, almost imperceptible smile, not of mockery, but of what looked like simple acknowledgement. By the time we reached the end of the block, my legs were trembling, but not just from fear. It was the tremor of a limb coming back to life. You can turn back if you want, Eleanor said, testing me. I stood still for a long moment, then shook my head. No. I'm done running. I looked at her, truly looked at her. I don't know why you're doing this, but it doesn't matter anymore. Your game is over. I turned and continued walking, leaving her standing on the sidewalk. That evening, as I was removing my makeup, my phone buzzed. It was Clara. I've been thinking. A lot. Can we talk tomorrow? Really talk? My heart hammered against my ribs. Hope, terrifying and fragile, bloomed in my chest. I typed back a single word, yes. The next day, I met her at the park. I walked there alone as Leah. She was waiting on a bench by the fountain. She stood as I approached, her expression a mixture of apprehension and sorrow. Hi, I said softly. So this is real, she stated more than asked. I nodded. This is real. And I'm sorry I couldn't tell you sooner. I was afraid I'd lose you. You almost did, she admitted, her voice thick with emotion. When your stepmother sent me those videos. I was so angry. But then I saw the last one. The one where you were alone, just smiling. And I realized I was angry because you were hiding your happiness from me, not just your clothes. She took a deep breath. I don't know what this means for us, Leo. Or Leah. But I know I love the person I've been with for 2 years. And if this is a part of that person, I want to at least try to understand. She reached out and took my hand. Her touch was an anchor. It wasn't a perfect solution, but it was a beginning. I returned home that evening feeling lighter than I had in my entire life. Eleanor was waiting in the foyer, arms crossed. Well, she inquired. She's trying to understand, I said, a small smile on my lips. Eleanor's expression soured. A pity. I was hoping we were finally rid of her. She paused, her eyes glinting. But don't think for a second that this is over. I frowned. I already told you I don't care about the videos anymore. Oh, this isn't about videos, she said, stepping closer. A true, venomous smile spread across her face. This is about something far more permanent. I made a few inquiries. Spoke to a very understanding lawyer about the unique challenges of a young person finding their identity. A cold dread began to creep up my spine. What did you do? She walked toward me, her voice dropping to a triumphant whisper. Let's just say that the power of attorney our family lawyer drew up after your father passed is a very powerful document. Especially when a guardian feels their ward is unstable. She let the word hang in the air. The mail should be arriving tomorrow, darling. You'll see what I mean. She turned and glided into the kitchen, humming softly to herself. I stood frozen, my newfound freedom turning to ash in my mouth. This was never about a week of punishment. It was never about teaching me a lesson. This was about erasure. This was a war, and Eleanor had just revealed she had no intention of letting Leo or Leah win.